The not-so-free state of Florida has ironically become something of an abortion safe haven for thousands of women living in neighboring states that have passed near total bans. Yes, Florida does ban the medical procedure after 15 weeks, but that is less restrictive than nearby states. The fact that it's becoming a destination state is making anti-choice zealots angry, and they are demanding that Ron DeSantis call a special legislative session to add new restrictions. Since the Supreme Court has sent it back to the states, anti-choice state legislatures and governors are moving aggressively to restrict abortion access, using legislation written by the General Counsel for the National Right to Life Committee, Jim Bopp. The model law, designed to be carbon copied by Republican-controlled states, would ban abortions in nearly all circumstances except to prevent the imminent death of the pregnant mother. The main body of the text does not allow for exceptions for rape or incest, but would allow states to make exceptions. In Indiana, the state legislature is set to hold a special session next Monday, where they're expected to take up restrictive abortion legislation. Republicans have remained silent on what the legislation might look like, or if there will be any exemptions for rape, incest, or for the health of the mother. Bopp told a local paper that he wasn't at liberty to say if he was advising Indiana Republicans. So, yeah, he probably is. Yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court cleared the way for Indiana to enforce a 2017 law which requires teenagers aged 18 and under to get parental consent before they seek an abortion. I wonder how that would work if the abuse is in the family. The state's top lawyer, Attorney General Todd Rokita, cheered the news. Rokita has been an ardent warrior for forced birth. Last week, Rokita decided to investigate Dr. Caitlin Bernard after she helped facilitate an abortion for a 10-year-old child from Ohio who had been repeatedly raped. The girl's story was initially called a big old made-up lie by right-wing media outlets and Republican politicians, including Rokita. While he offered no specific allegations of wrongdoing, he went on national television and said he would look into whether Dr. Bernard properly reported the abortion and the sexual abuse of the child as required under state law. Records obtained by the Indianapolis Star through a public records request showed that Bernard had indeed reported the abortion to the appropriate Indiana officials within the required time frame. Well, today, attorneys for Dr. Bernard took the first step in a potential defamation lawsuit against the Attorney General for his false and misleading statements. And joining me now is Dr. Bernard's lawyer, Kathleen Delaney. Ms. Delaney, thank you for being here. I want to start, just for our audience who don't watch a lot of right-wing TV, play the soundbite in question. This is Mr. Rokita defaming, allegedly, Dr. Bernard.
We have this abortion activist acting as a doctor with a history of failing to report. So we're gathering the information, we're gathering the evidence as we speak, and we're going to fight this to the end, including looking at her licensure if she failed to report. And in Indiana, it's a crime to not report.
Please explain to us how that becomes the basis of your lawsuit.
The statements that Mr. Rokita made were false. He knew they were false, or with any reasonable inquiry, he would have known that they were false. And they accuse my client, who is a wonderful doctor who cares for her patients and gives compassionate care, of misconduct in her profession. And that constitutes defamation per se.
And let's go through here. So part of the tort letter states that statements that Dr. Bernard has a history of failing to report, which, Mr. Rokita, this is from the letter that you submitted, would constitute a crime made in the absence of reasonable investigation, serve no legitimate law enforcement purpose. Given the current political atmosphere in the United States, Mr. Rokita's comments were intended to heighten public condemnation of Dr. Bernard, who legally provided legitimate medical care. Do you believe that Mr. Rokita's goal was for the purpose of his own politics and ideology, essentially to put a target on Dr. Bernard?
I think that the strategy here has clearly been to obfuscate and to distract from the tragedy that abortion bans cause. And so first, they claimed there was no 10-year-old rape victim. Then they claimed the doctor violated the law. Those things are all untrue. Now he's claiming to have launched an investigation into Dr. Bernard. I have no evidence of that. Mr. Rokita has received 2 letters from me He knows who I am and how to find me and who I represent, and he has not given me notice of any investigation, has not asked for any information from my client. So that's yet another unsubstantiated accusation that is casting my client in a false light. And he needs to stop. He needs to stop smearing Dr. Bernard.
And I want to read just a little bit of a spokesman for for Rokita. This is what he told the Indianapolis Star, claiming they're continuing to investigate, which it's not clear he has the jurisdiction to do. It says our office is continuing its investigation into whether Dr. Bernard was in compliance with Indiana and federal privacy laws, among other reporting and confidentiality requirements. They're essentially accusing your client of somehow violating the HIPAA statutes.
Which is really interesting because HIPAA is a federal statute, and Mr. Rokita has no jurisdiction as a state attorney general to enforce a federal law. He's also made accusations about potential criminal conduct, and the Marion County prosecutor, who controls law enforcement in Indianapolis, has already issued a statement reminding Mr. Rokita that he has no authority to prosecute criminals in Indiana at all. That's not part of his jurisdiction. So, again, false, unsubstantiated statements designed to put a bullseye on the back of one healthcare provider. But this is part of a pattern of attacks that's going on around the country, I'm sure.
Do you believe that what Mr. Rokita is doing is an attempt to create a chilling effect, essentially, to extend anti-abortion restrictions, for instance, in another state, a state like Ohio, into Indiana without a law needing to be passed?
I think that's definitely part of their strategy, along with trying to whip up the base on his side of the political aisle as we run up to this special legislative session that begins on Monday.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to note here that a former dean has told the Indianapolis Star that Rokita went after this doctor who was performing a legal medical procedure in Indiana because he opposes abortion. The deputy for Stalin, this is what this IU dean, Indiana University dean said, the deputy for Stalin was reported to have said, "Show me the man and I will find the crime." That's just not the way we do things in the United States. I just want to end with that comment as I thank you, Kathleen Delaney. Thank you for being here.